A Russian military unit near Chasiv Yar has collapsed from within. In a shocking act of defiance, the soldiers turned their guns on their own platoon commander and then surrendered en masse to Ukrainian forces. This wasn't a one-off event. It's one of the clearest indications yet that the Russian army is starting to fracture under immense pressure. What we're witnessing is the unraveling of discipline, plummeting morale, and a war machine slowly devouring itself. Let's unpack what led to this dramatic mutiny, what it says about the current state of the Russian military, and how Ukraine might leverage this chaos to gain crucial ground. According to Ukrainian Defense Intelligence, the incident occurred after Russian troops refused orders to storm heavily fortified Ukrainian positions without proper artillery or armored support. In essence, they were being sent on a suicide mission. When the commander responded with threats of execution for those who wouldn't comply, the soldiers turned on him and killed him. These details come not from Ukrainian eyewitnesses, but directly from the Russian soldiers involved, who, having killed their superior, saw no option but to flee toward Ukraine. Under Russian military law, they faced immediate arrest and punishment if caught. With military police already looking for them, the soldiers instead crossed the front lines waving white flags and surrendered to Ukrainian forces, who then relayed this critical information. While the Ukrainian report didn't list names or exact coordinates, the event is believed to have taken place near Chasiv Yar, close to Bakhmut, a fiercely contested city long before it fell during Russia's attritional campaign. Of course, one platoon's rebellion won't flip the balance of power or instantly allow Ukraine to retake Bakhmut. But this act of defiance provides a stark window into the rot within Russia's war effort. It's not just about losing ground or troops. Russia appears to be losing its will to fight, a much deeper and more dangerous development. This unraveling is tied directly to broader economic, demographic, and geopolitical deterioration that's been accelerating over the years of war. While Russian media touts the recapture of villages Ukraine liberated months ago, the true conflict is happening in the background, in the logistics, data systems, and personnel networks that feed the front lines. This mutiny is only the latest symptom of Russia's chronic manpower shortage, which began to show cracks during the war's second year. At the outset of the invasion, Russia had about 900,000 active duty troops, with roughly 100,000 to 160,000 stationed near Ukraine. After the initial offensive failed, another 190,000 were deployed, and recruitment incentives were ramped up. 3 years on, the situation has changed dramatically. Russia now has around 1.1 million active personnel, with roughly 660,000 deployed to Ukraine. But the quality of those troops has declined. Seasoned soldiers are being replaced by poorly trained recruits. By Ukrainian estimates, Russian casualties reached the 1 million mark around June 2025, dead and wounded combined. Even US intelligence, offering more conservative figures, places Russian losses at 750,000 by March 2025, suggesting a trajectory toward 1 million by year's end. These are not just numbers, they represent the slow disintegration of Russia's military cohesion. The casualty rate now exceeds that of any Russian conflict since World War II. With its original troop reserves nearly exhausted, most soldiers currently at the front are new, inexperienced, and ill-prepared. The cost of advancing, often no more than 50 meters a day in regions like Kharkiv, is devastating, not only in lives and equipment but also financially. Russia is burning through World War II level resources, spending an estimated 40% of its federal budget on a war that's isolated it globally. The Chasiv Yar incident involving Russia's 20th Combined Arms Army reflects a broader trend. High-ranking officers are being lost faster than they can be replaced. Official Russian sources have confirmed the deaths of 12 generals, with Ukraine claiming an additional 4. Independent Russian media reports that over 5,000 officers have died as of June 2025. This has profound consequences. Unlike NATO's decentralized model, Russia's military is top-down. Orders flow from generals and are meant to be executed with little flexibility. This rigidity is a fatal flaw in a war defined by rapid drone strikes and real-time battlefield adjustments. When an officer is eliminated, the resulting leadership vacuum can paralyze an entire unit, something Ukraine has exploited repeatedly. Targeted strikes on Russian officers are now standard, not just for tactical gain, but to create confusion and disrupt command. Ukraine's deep understanding of Russia's propaganda tactics and information control has also proven valuable. Campaigns like I Want to Live encourage Russian troops to surrender, offering humane treatment and even asylum, in stark contrast to Russia's own punishment-driven draft enforcement. Ukraine has also weaponized Russia's lack of cultural cohesion. Conscription disproportionately affects marginalized ethnic groups from remote regions, places like Dagestan, while major cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg Petersburg remained largely untouched. The Russian military, fragmented in its training and plagued by lax oversight, often sends underprepared troops into combat after barely a week of instruction. This lack of preparedness helps explain the wave of surrenders we've seen. In August 2024, a Ukrainian incursion into Kursk with just 1,000 troops led to mass Russian capitulations and one of Ukraine's most successful missions. The operation galvanized international support and exposed the deep rot in Russia's recruitment strategy. The truth is, Russia's conscription system shields the political and economic elite while sacrificing the poor and rural. And although Russia has attempted to hide its troop shortages, it's been forced to import fighters from countries like North Korea and Iran, adding chaos to an already dysfunctional military. In October 2024, Russia brought in 11,000 North Korean troops to support a counteroffensive in Kursk. By early 2025, over 3,000 had been wounded and 300 killed. Some estimates place the total casualties at 6,000. The performance was so poor, Russia withdrew them within 6 months, only to bring in 3,000 more. These foreign fighters introduced new problems: language barriers, miscommunication, and even friendly fire incidents. In some cases, North Korean soldiers accidentally opened fire on Russian and Chechen allies. Iranian fighters too have joined the fight, as shown in footage of Russian and Iranian troops struggling to coordinate before an assault. This has created a military nightmare. Units unable to communicate, foreign troops with incompatible tactics, and leaders issuing orders that simply aren't understood. North Korean troops, fearing punishment back home, have reportedly launched suicidal charges rather than surrender. But using foreign troops isn't sustainable. Ukraine reports that Russia is losing over 1,100 soldiers per day. A 10,000-strong reinforcement force doesn't last long. Drone warfare has only made this worse. By 2025, 70% of Russia's equipment losses were caused by drones. The same likely holds true for personnel losses. Russian troops now spend more time dodging drones than engaging in actual combat. Despite having a numerically superior army, Russia is literally throwing bodies at the problem, hoping attrition alone will win the war. Meanwhile, the economic costs are spiraling. Russia is offering conscripts salaries many times the national average, further draining its overstretched budget. Military expenses now account for over 8% of total government spending, an unparalleled burden. At the same time, Russia is paying Iran and North Korea for military gear, ammo, and engineering support. Western sanctions are tightening the noose. Gas and oil, which previously made up 40% of state revenue, are harder to sell. More than 900,000 citizens, mainly tech-savvy middle-class families, fled Russia before the war's second year. These people are not easily replaced. Their departure represents a long-term blow to the economy, even as the government continues funneling resources into the war. All of this culminates in a stark conclusion. Putin cannot win this war with tactics that are costing lives Russia can't afford. He can't negotiate from a position of strength when his own soldiers are killing their commanders, and he can't maintain an economy where nearly half the budget is spent on territorial advances measured in football fields. The very nature of Russia's conscription strategy reveals the truth. This war is not existential. If it were, Moscow's elites would be fighting too. Instead, they're insulated, while the rural poor are sent to die. This inequality feeds a vicious cycle. Poor regions lose their labor force, families are left to finance their loved ones' deployment, and the wealthy remain untouched. Now resources that could strengthen domestic units are being wasted on foreign mercenaries who can't even communicate with their allies. If Russia truly believed the war threatened its survival, it would mobilize its entire population. It wouldn't pay North Korea for troops or ship advanced weapons to its few remaining allies. A Forbes analysis calculated that at the current pace, it would take Russia 230 years and 100 million casualties to fully occupy Ukraine. That's more than its entire adult population, and it doesn't have centuries to spare. Incidents like the mutiny at Chasiv Yar illustrate one brutal truth: no army can survive when its soldiers stop believing in the system they're dying for, and that's exactly what's happening now. If you want to understand how Ukraine has managed to break Russia's war machine, especially through drone warfare, check out this next video. And for the latest developments in the war and beyond, subscribe to Baller.